back here in the SportsTownChicago.com studios here in Lombard, Illinois. I'm Paul Chivari, back with the Paul Chivari Show. And if you've listened to me before, you know what this music means. And that means it's time to bring in my guy, Gabe Salgado. He is my resident expert on pretty much everything. But today it's going to be college hoops. We're going to cover some of the local games that went on last night. Of course, Loyola versus Drake. And he covers DePaul, UIC, you name it, local Chicago sports, college basketball, and he's on it. And Gabe, welcome back, buddy.
Thank you. It's good to be back.
So I don't even know where to start. I mean, I think the most exciting thing is DePaul's on like their biggest Big East Conference winning streak ever, it seems like, just with the 2 in a row here. But of course, the most recent game was Loyola and Drake last night, playing a pretty close one, but it was a 70-60 win for Drake. Now Loyola falls to 2-3 in the Missouri Valley Conference. Let's start with that one there. It seems like Loyola seems to be hanging with some of these Missouri Valley teams, but coming up on the short end in some of these games. But already with 2 wins early on in the Missouri Valley seems to be a pretty strong start for a team that's new to the conference.
Actually, they won that game 70-60 last night. It was the other way around.
Yeah, I'm reading the Des Moines Register. That's probably why my problem. I'm reading the 70-60 defeat.
Gotcha. And the biggest reason for that was Milton Doyle. You know, Milton Doyle is just a freshman. He was actually a transfer from Kansas, and it's not often that Kansas players want to transfer to smaller schools, but that's what Milton Doyle did, and he had 28 points, 19 of those in the second half. He led Loyola on the 21-9 run in the last 8 minutes or so of that game, and that's exactly what the Ramblers had needed all season. They needed that spark in the second half to close out games. They've always had trouble in the second half of the season, even in non-conference play. So it was really good to see somebody finally step up and make something happen. And now he's the leading scorer, 14.6 points per game, passing up Christian Thomas. And, Milton Doyle, along with Christian Thomas, gives Loyola a good 1-2 punch. Now all they need is just a dependable big man and a solid perimeter player, and, they should be good to go. And, hopefully they can find that on their team. If not, they'll have to recruit aggressively.
And you can see in that game, Milton Doyle, 4 for 6 from the three-point line, just off to just a really hot shooting streak in that game. Is that really typical of Milton Doyle's game, or is he just somebody that is kind of a streaky shooter like that?
Well, he's been solid all season. It's his 4th 20-point game of the season, but he's scored double digits in almost every game this year. He's always been a dependable shooter. It's just that last night he just took his game to a whole other level.
And with Doyle being a freshman, I'm sure he's not really being heavily recruited for the NBA. Is this a guy that you could see ending up in the NBA when it's all said and done, or is this a guy that's going to be just the top of his game is probably going to be college and maybe some developmental league type of stuff?
Well, if he can keep putting out performances like this, and if he can stay healthy for however long he's at Loyola, he could be. But right now, like you said, he's just a freshman. It's a little too early to tell, but it's good to see, that he's being productive and helping his team.
A lot of different guys on Loyola are. It's actually like the same guys that are getting most of the minutes. Do they not have a deep bench this year, or have there been a lot of injuries to the Ramblers that have been kind of keeping certain guys from playing? Because I see last night only 8 guys made it into the game, and pretty much all but 3 of them played 25 minutes or more.
Well, you know what it is that they have a lot of inexperience on their bench. And remember, Loyola doesn't have any seniors on this year's roster, so that's also a part of it as well. So, Porter Moser, he tries to give everybody time on the court, but, usually he goes with his most experienced guys, which is guys like Doyle, like Christian Thomas, like Nick Osborne, like, Matt O'Leary, Jeff White, Devin Turk, Joe Chrisman. So really it's all about, guys who have experience, and he doesn't have a whole lot of that on his bench.
All right, let's transition over to DePaul, because I was saying I was excited about this 2-game win streak in the Big East. Something that we should be, is this a sign of things to come here, or is this just kind of the right time for the Blue Demons here? I see a 77-75 win over St. John's. St. John's is a tough program, but they still have yet to win a Big East game this year. Kind of evenly matched record-wise. Are the Blue Demons beating the teams they're supposed to be beating, or is this kind of an upset in your opinion?
Well, St. John's was a very beatable team, and that's evidenced by the fact that they have yet to win a conference game. Butler was definitely an upset because, Butler's usually invincible at home, and the fact that DePaul went in there and dropped 99 points on them and walked out with the victory is something special in itself. It's good to see that they're finally, winning some games that they've already reached double-digit wins. They're one game away from equaling their win total from last year. Hopefully they can get more. But they got a challenge coming up this weekend when they head to Villanova. Villanova's the best team in the Big East. They're ranked number 6 in the country. Really, really good, fundamentally sound team. DePaul hasn't beat Loyola since 2008, and that was the last time they beat a top 25 team as well. So there's a lot on the line when they play Villanova on Saturday. It'll be difficult for them to walk out with the win. They just have to find a way to keep up and not let Villanova get on a big run and get on a big streak shooting-wise. So that's going to be the biggest challenge that DePaul will probably face all year. But, if they can beat Villanova, that'll say a lot about this program and perhaps indicate that they're heading in the right direction, but it'll be easier said than done.
Now, we've talked a lot about DePaul and recruiting locally, and you're saying that they're one win away from to reaching the point where they were last year. There's still plenty of basketball left to be played, so you would think that this year DePaul is going to surpass where they were the last couple of years. How much will this season impact future recruiting locally for the Blue Demons?
I think it'll be a big help, especially when you take a look at guys like Cleveland Melvin and Brandon Young and Sandy Marshuch, who will be gone at the end of the year because they're all seniors. So, maybe you can, find some players who want to replace those guys. Hopefully it'll help. We'll see that DePaul basketball starting to come back and head in the right direction. It's just a matter of getting the talent pool in to keep the program going. DePaul, they definitely improved depth-wise this year. They got bigger. They became a better team on both sides of the ball. Now it's just a matter of how they can keep that going once those players have graduated.
All right. And, are you going to be at the UIC Pavilion tonight or no?
No, but I should be there Sunday checking out their game against Wisconsin Green Bay. They have a tough stretch coming up this week. They've lost 6 in a row, which is not good. And they're taking on the top tier of the Horizon League, so it's going to be very tough for them. Hopefully they can squeak out at least one win and try to salvage, some part of their season.
Yeah, I saw they were able to hang with Wright State a little bit, who's at the kind of the top of the Horizon League. It seems like the Horizon League's kind of bunched up this year anyway, but with the Flames unable to get a win yet, how detrimental is it this early on that they haven't been able to get a win in the Horizon League?
Well, it's definitely because of the fact that they don't have the same talent as they did last year. No Gary Talton, no Daniel Barnes, no Josh Criddle, no Anthony Kelly. And this year, Will Simonson hasn't really been a factor. Jake Wiegand has struggled. Kelsey Barlow's really been the driving force for this Flames team, and they need to get production from more than one player. And it's been really, really a disappointing year. They blew that lead against Illinois at the United Center. They had a chance to win that game. So, the fact that they're really struggling and they can't seem to find more than one or two players to contribute is what's really hurting the team.
And what do you foresee happening? Give us a preview of tonight's game against the Wisconsin-Milwaukee Panthers.
Well, what the Flames need to do is they need production from more than one guy. They need to be aggressive on defense. They need to get on the rebounding. They really got to take it to Wisconsin-Milwaukee at both ends of the floor. They've proven that they're capable of scoring 80 points or more in any given night. So it's really going to be a big test, especially defensively for the Flames.
While I got you on, do you want to talk a little bit about Northwestern and maybe the Illinois Fighting Illini?
Oh, Northwestern, it was good to see them pull out that game against Michigan State. Against Illinois. It was a huge win for them. I was hoping that they would keep those uniforms on against Michigan State. That wasn't the case, and you saw how their performance suffered. Now, I'm not really a superstitious guy, but I figured, they win a conference game in those uniforms. Maybe it could be a formula for the rest of the season. But, Northwestern, they're really struggling. They can't get any scoring from anyone other than Cobb and Crawford, which is really hurting the team. As for the Illini, in the last few games, they've been inconsistent on offense, and they're having trouble guarding guys on defense. Nana Egwu is just standing there in the paint, not really doing a whole lot. They've become very dependent on their guards. John Ickey struggled. They haven't really been getting the type of production off their bench that they had been getting throughout the season. Illinois really needs to find a way to find their niche and just, come together, and they need more production out of the guys up front, and they can't lean on their guards too much, and they definitely need to get some points off the bench when those guys are in. And Northwestern, they need to find another scoring option, and they need to get better in the paint.
Yeah, this is a problem for Illinois right now. I mean, they're on a 3-game losing streak, and now they have to play Michigan State, albeit they will be in Champaign, which should bode a little bit better than having to go out to East Lansing. But you got to imagine that this is just not going to be a winnable game for the Fighting Illini on Saturday, and it's just kind of between the Illini and the Northwestern Wildcats. It seems like a tale of two teams because Illinois was riding this hot streak, and then once they face Wisconsin, it was just like they seemed to have disappeared, and Northwestern really took advantage of that. And now it seems like, despite last night's loss, Northwestern was able to hang with the Spartans in the first half. Seems like that maybe Northwestern's starting to figure things out at this time of the year. Do you kind of see that happening with the Wildcats? Do you think that like this is a point right now where things are starting to kind of gel and click a little bit, even though this is going to be a rough transition season?
Well, they're starting to get better on defense, which is a good thing. And now they just got to put it together with the offense. And like I said, they got to get stronger in the paint. They don't have a whole lot of size on the team, so that'll kind of make it difficult. But, the thing is just, finding, more than just Drew Crawford and Jershon Cobb scoring the points and, leading the way. They need another scoring threat is the biggest thing. As for the Illini, Wisconsin just exposed their weaknesses, and, the other teams have been able to capitalize on those weaknesses since then.
Gabe, anything else you got for me?
No, not today. That's pretty much it. College basketball this season is really starting to get interesting. And, you're starting to see some things happen here and there. And, we still have plenty of ball left to play, so we'll see how it all turns out. I
guess I got one more quick question for you here. I didn't realize that Joe Lenardi does his bracketology, it seems like, year-round. He was saying that the Illini are out of his bracket right now after that loss to Northwestern. Do you think it's too early to start doing this? I mean, there's still so much basketball left to be played to determine this, but do you think it's crazy that these guys that whose jobs are to determine this kind of already know who they have in and out?
I think you should wait a little bit closer to February before you can figure that out, because you still got a good few weeks of basketball left to play before you could really start, deciphering, who has a good chance of getting in the tournament and who doesn't. I mean, I can understand with the way Illinois has been playing, that could carry over for the rest of the season, although that remains to be seen. But I think you should probably wait. Until February before you start figuring things out like that.
Any predictions for us for the conference championships in the NFL this weekend?
As much as I'd like to give you a pick, I mean, really, it's going to be tough. Even though the Broncos have home field advantage, Tom Brady's always had Peyton Manning's number. And, San Francisco, they've struggled to win in Seattle. They got that home field advantage. They got that defense. So, I mean, really, it's tough. It's too tough to call. I mean, I feel bad for the people who are betting money on this weekend's games.
I was saying earlier that the Brady Manning matchup, these are two guys at the tail end of their careers. There needs to be a new quarterback rivalry. Does Kaepernick versus Wilson seem like the right one to kind of take over that rivalry?
Oh, you hope so. It all depends on how long they can stay with their respective teams and how long they can consistently make the playoffs every year. But that definitely would be. There's definitely a good chance of that becoming the new rivalry, but that remains to be seen. But yeah, Manning and Brady have had memorable games, and just like you said, they're both at their tail end of careers, and it's how much longer can they keep it up?
Yeah, that's it's definitely. It strikes me how it's funny that Brady Manning is a couple of great passers, and the way the league has kind of shifted now, even though it's still a passing league, but just with the mobile quarterbacks, how Kaepernick and Wilson have kind of just came up that quickly and are already that strong of leaders just this early in their careers. But Gabe, thank you so much. Let's do this again next week. You gotta catch me up and keep teaching me about all these local college basketball squads.
All right, will do.
All right, that's Gabe Salgado. Always great stuff from him. You can follow him on Twitter at Gabe Salgado82. That's GabeSalgado. Thank you to Gabe Salgado. Coming up, I've got an update for you, and then on the south side of that update, I will talk a little bit more football, maybe a little bit more baseball, and maybe get a little bit to the Blackhawks. Who knows? You're listening to the Paul Chivari Show here on SportsTownChicago.com. So please don't try to fake this. But back to the